He's Howard Eibach, a former copywriter and creative director and the author of 2 books on the creative brief.
And he's Henry Gomez, an ad agency strategist with over 26 years of experience. Together, we're the Brief Brothers, having an ongoing conversation about creative briefs, briefing, and advertising. We are back, Henry, with a continuation of our episodes on writing a creative brief together. So we'll call this part 2. The last episode, we started our discussion about Hulu. We agreed that the problem seems to be in pretty good shape. We made some minor changes to it, and we started doing some background work. Today, what we're going to do is continue what you called our discovery about Hulu, the brand, what we've learned about Hulu, the brand, some of the things that they've been doing. And we're going to wait and we're going to talk about a lot of background stuff on Hulu today and make a serious effort in starting to write our creative brief, probably in our next episode. So we're just kind of taking our time, giving this effort the devotion and the thinking power that it requires. So let's continue. Where would you like to start with our continuation of the discussion on Hulu?
And I'd like to add, off the air yesterday, we were talking and I said, I really want people to kind of see the thought process that goes into writing a creative brief. It's not something, you and I have both taught workshops. There's time is limited. We're basically just writing stuff off the top of our head. But when you're writing a creative brief for a client, you have to do the homework. You have to do the deep digging. Not everything you look for or find is going to be useful. That's why we're not immediately answering the questions on the mural. We're putting Post-it notes around the questions. This might be something we keep in mind. This might be something that will be useful. But in the end, we may end up discarding that and moving on. Why don't we start with the link to the This Is Hulu website?
This is the website. It's interesting that you said this, Henry. They posted on the internet for everyone to see their entire brand guidelines, and here we are.
The way I found this, and I've become pretty good at like discovering like the little nooks and crannies of websites. And I was on the Hulu.com website, and at the bottom there was a press section. And I clicked the press section, and in the press section, there was a link that said assets, and it took me to this website. And here's if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that it talks about our brand. On the left-hand side, there's all these different hot links that'll take you down to that section of the page. And then there's a box there where you can click and you can download a PDF. It's a 60 megabyte PDF that they call their big green guide. So if I were pitching Hulu, and this is kind of like the exercise we're doing is if we were pitching, this would be an incredible asset to have.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm just dumbfounded that, I cannot think of an example of another brand that posts all its inside stuff on the internet. Now, maybe I've been away from the game for a long time, and maybe everybody does this. But you're the research guy. Is this unusual to find this much information on the brand?
So usually clients will have some sort of password protected for their marketers. They will have their brand guidelines and different things like that. This is very rare, but to me, I struck gold here in a lot of ways. Yeah. If I were pitching the brand and they didn't provide this to me, finding this would be an advantage that I would take advantage.
How much you want to bet that 5 minutes after this episode airs, this gets locked?
I don't know that our reach is that great that but maybe, who knows?
Well, here's the thing that I like, and we don't have to look at this, but look, writing style. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the importance of how a brief is written. It's a writerly document. And now here, I'm just skipping ahead. This is going to be, here's the brand. One of the things that I say in my training, Henry, that is the only thing you can cut and paste from creative brief to creative brief to creative brief is the brand personality, is the brand tone of voice. That never changes from project to project. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're trying to establish continuity. I think we talk about memory structures and creating mental availability. Being consistent is a big part of that, right? First, they
Yeah.
must know it's me. So all of these brand guidelines, and these guidelines are really good, by the way.
Yes.
I think they're very well. And what you see here on this long page, this website, is just a fraction of what's in that PDF. The PDF like really
Right.
blows it out, but for presentation purposes here, I just wanted to scroll through a few other things. But you see things that you would expect, like the logo, the color, the typography, the
Hmm.
iconography. An interesting thing that to me that I found, if you click where it says the vessel,
There we go.
the vessel is kind of this like box that goes around the Hulu logo
Yeah.
in places. Like they have
A
a name they
visual
call
metaphor. A visual metaphor. That's really
for
interesting.
TV. Yep.
Hmm.
They have a sonic identity, so there's a sound that they have that you can use. And CTA buttons. But what I really wanted to highlight, I think so. The reason I bring this up is because in my brief, and we talked about in our kind of intro episode where we talked about the format that I currently am using. I have a
Hmm.
section for brand codes, right? Um, and
Right.
and and distinctive assets. And so here are all of the distinctive assets for Hulu, and they truly are distinctive, from the color to this vessel, to all of those things. So
Yeah.
we could put a bunch of post-it notes around the assets section, refer to brand guidelines for typography, for logo usage, um, etc. So maybe
Codes.
yeah,
Codes. What distinctive assets? So what do we want to put?
we
Say
could
you want
put
to do it.
there the Hulu logo, the Hulu green color, the vessel, the audio signature, um,
Writing style. I mean, that's the
well, there's a tone
the
section. There's a tone section in the brief, so that would go. There'll be a
brand
post-it
voice.
that would be in the tones. So there's another
Okay.
orange post-it somewhere for tone that
Okay.
you could put a post-it near.
Right.
Um, there you go, tone. So here, brand voice, writing guidelines.
Just a little background, Henry, that you may not even know. Way back when I was in in the prime of my career, I was part of a team that put the brand guidelines together for AOL's customer retention program.
You've got mail.
You you've got mail, exactly. Now that's a long time ago, but so I'm familiar with what it takes to put together a brand guideline, which is why I'm so impressed with what I see on
To do it
on the
well,
website.
everybody's got brand guidelines. A
Yep,
lot of them are crap.
exactly. And they
These,
collect dust. They collect dust on a shelf somewhere, or they're in a folder on a desktop that no one ever looks at.
yeah, maybe because they don't have them on a public website.
Yeah, maybe
um,
maybe we're broadcasting a
so,
trend.
so, so if we go back to the website real quick, so beyond just the brand codes, which is a great thing to have, especially in this day and age of distinctive assets and all that. If
Mhm.
you click on where it says writing style, so this
Whoops, that's
no,
yeah,
yeah, that's it, you got it.
that's it. Yeah.
So it says,
So
if you read it, it says,
our voice embodies the Hulu brand across a variety of touch points. We talk to our viewers like real people, like we're having a conversation with them, because we are. We don't use a lot of jargon. Our viewers don't watch content, they watch TV like humans do, right? This is great. We also don't judge. Everybody loves what they love. So we're not snarky about TV. We like a little wordplay, but not too much. We're not trying to keep up with every meme out there either. We don't try too hard. We're talking to TV people. We know how to do it because we're TV people too. That's great stuff. That's good writing.
so it was that last sentence that really sparked something in me. So we're talking about what is this? We need to build a campaign about this brand and what this brand is good for and who it's for. And suddenly, it like the seas parted and I saw this thing about TV people. So I'm already thinking that this is going to play a major cornerstone in my brief, that this is a major insight about the brand that I want to have on the mural. I want to have it in my brief. So but there's a few things here. I mean, we again, going back to the mural, we could add things like conversational in the brand voice.
Where we are here, brand voice.
Yep. Put their conversational, no jargon.
Tone, we under tone here.
Yeah, that's where it is. That's exactly where we put another.
So no jargon.
No jargon, conversational.
Real people. Yep.
They had some good examples there. They're not trying to keep up with every meme. And then to me, the most important thing was, if we go to the target section, the target orange box, which is, I think, the one that has 4 post-its around it already. Yep.
Buyers.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's put one there, in all caps, bolded and underlined. TV people.
How about this?
Yep. That works.
Yeah, and you know what? As a creative, I'm already thinking. I'm starting to come up with visual ideas and some language. So yeah, my brain is already turned on from looking at that easily.
So, and then I did download the 60 megabyte PDF they have an even a little bit more in depth about TV people. We don't have to show that here. It'll inform the thinking when we get to that section of the brief and we actually write it. But let's move on. I shared with you a couple of screen captures of some stuff that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. We'll do the first one.
Yeah, let's do that one. So I put out on Facebook a call to people to tell me what things they subscribe to, what are their must-haves. And a friend of mine wrote, I have Amazon Prime Video. He did left out because I have Amazon Prime. I watch sometimes, but it's an afterthought. So it's kind of giving credence to what we talked about in the last time, which is Amazon Prime is a competitor. Prime Video is a competitor, but I don't think it's the competitor we're really shooting for, because we're not going to get market share from Amazon Prime based on our video offering. Amazon Prime has a bundle of benefits that go well beyond video streaming. So as a strategist, it kind of clarifies in my thinking that, okay, Amazon Prime has a bigger share than us, but they have another line of business that they're in, and we need to know what they're doing from a content standpoint and things like that. But we're not fighting with them for subscriptions necessarily.
Right.
So there was another screenshot that I shared with you. And
let's take a look.
And this came from an article in Barron's, which is a financial publication. And it was an opinion piece. And in it, an analyst was giving his perspective that what Disney should do is divest itself of Hulu and buy Netflix. Now, forgetting that speculation and whether that's the right business strategy or not, I don't care about that, because that's in the future and we're dealing with this brief in the here and now and what really exists. There was this paragraph that got me also thinking, which was, the decision to buy a stake in Hulu was a strategic one for Disney. It allowed the company to provide mature audiences a streaming alternative and the option to bundle the subscription with ESPN and Disney Plus. So here I would go back to our mural and I would add the word mature audience, or mature, so this is around the target audience, or
mature audience.
Yeah.
Whoops, I'm in the all caps. All right, what else?
And I think that's it for that one.
All right.
So in the context, or the first box of the top left, I think we can add the bit about Amazon subscribers not necessarily streaming. And it's just shorthand for what we were just talking about, that it's, that's part of the context. Is sure, Amazon is out there, but we may or may not use that eventually.
Okay.
So those are a few more things that I found. The other thing that I looked at were some spots. So
right.
I think you have the videos there, and we can
Yep.
play them. I think let's play this first one, the one on the far left there.
All right, let me just zoom in here. This one here?
Yep.
I'm gonna make it a little bit. I don't want to make it too big. Let's just zoom in on it.
That's fine.
Oh, new Handmaid's Tale's on Hulu.
I'm coming home, baby, now. I'm coming home now, right away.
There's a new Pen 15?
I'm coming home, baby, now. Expect me any day now, real soon.
When you have to watch, you have to watch. Time to have Hulu Originals.
I'm coming home.
So, we could argue about whether that's a good spot or not. It's a spot for the Hulu brand, talking about their originals. They certainly are playing up the brand assets, particularly at the end. But no tagline, no real reason for being for the brand, which is what we're kind of saying we need to instill in this brand and its advertising. Now, the next two spots, we could play one of them. I would have to play both of them. They're kind of in the same area, and they're both advertising the product that we talked about, which is the Plus Live TV. So just pick one, whichever one you want.
Really do got everything you need.
The cereal?
Nah, Hulu Plus Live TV. Cereal good too, though.
What is this? Over 75 live channels for sports, news, and entertainment, just like cable.
Ooh, a marshmallow.
Marshall, what?
A marshmallow.
Does kind of look like you.
How much are they paying you for this?
Hulu has live TV.
Yeah, we can have a discussion about the quality of that creative, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're not.
So this is LaMelo Ball. He's a NBA basketball player, 20 years old. He's watching
making good money,
TV,
I'm sure.
Making good money. Apparently, Hulu's paying him well. He's flying that green jet. At least that's the point of the commercial. But this one, again, even more like of that branding, of that visual branding. They're all over the place. We could argue whether this is entertaining, whether it's humorous. You smiled a little bit. It's not my humor.
There was more smiling at it. It's like, I'm a direct guy, so I like to have information, but you and I have talked many times about too many TV spots out there are lecturing to us. They're not entertaining us. They're not capturing our imagination. And this is an example of it. There's some entertaining aspects to it, but we're not here to talk about that. Yeah.
We're not real story. Oh yeah. So we're not doing creative review here.
No.
And then there was a Netflix one, and we could just watch it for a little while. We don't have to watch the whole thing. It's like 2 minutes long. But this one's, go ahead, play.
It's a little over a minute. It's a little over a minute.
Tonight is movie night.
Fascinating.
Target acquired.
In here, the party never stops. That's false. I got something to do in the morning, so it kind of does.
In here, you can go anywhere.
See anyone.
You want to see something cool?
Okay. We get the idea.
Yeah. So it focuses on the content. There's no real brand personality coming through here. Like, what are we good for? What do we do? What do we solve in your life? So I just kind of, and this is pretty par for the course for the category.
Right. Except
so,
for the logo itself. You're right. There's nothing here to set it apart.
So let's go to some of the post-its on the mural and
Okay.
see kind of what's left, and we could start brainstorming on some of this stuff.
All right, we can look at objective. We haven't got anything yet.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Let's go in there and say, what
think-
can the
I think-
advertising help us?
I think, try to find the brand.
Mm-hmm. Comma, what we're good for, why we exist.
You may recall, Henry, that I do an exercise in my workshop that stumps just about everybody when I ask them a question that was attributed to Albert Einstein. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. And I say, well, okay, substitute the word "it" for the brand that you work on. Explain your brand so a kid will get it. And what people tend to do is they explain their product or their category, not their brand. In other words, the exercise is explain the Chicago Bulls, don't explain basketball. Mm-hmm. And that stumps a lot of people. So here, this is, one of the questions that I would ask is, what the hell, how do you explain what Hulu is without explaining the product? Mm-hmm. And I think you and I will have a hard time doing that because, well, actually, it'll be a little bit easier now that we've seen their brand guidelines.
Yeah. Yep.
Because the explanation of what the product is, it's the home for a lot of TV programs.
Yeah.
And movies. But that also explains Netflix, that explains Amazon Prime, explains a lot of these other places.
Yeah.
But now that we know what the brand guidelines tell us, it's TV for TV people.
Yep.
So Hulu is TV for TV people.
Yep.
In a very basic way. So that's explaining why we are.
I would add a post-it here. Create mental availability.
Okay.
And another post-it that says something like, get into consideration set for buyers streaming roster.
Okay.
Right.
And
which acknowledges what we talked about, which is we don't have to beat all the competitors. We just have to get into the roster of the 2 or 3 streaming services that people are paying for.
And I want to start to write some lines here for our headline, which is, that's where we're going, whether that ends up being what we're going to say, but that's what we're trying. That's how they define themselves.
Yep.
So that can inform how we are going to try to answer this question of what's the headline? What's the one thing we want to say?
Yep.
Hopefully we can be a little more clever, but
I forgot to mention one of the PDFs I shared with you yesterday. You probably have it there on the bottom right. Yeah. We only need to see the headline. There was one that says, I think it's that one in the middle at the top row of the. There you go. That one, yeah. Hulu nabs streaming rights to Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, Austin City Limits music festivals. So that also gave me like a little bit of a spark too, particularly an audience when we saw kind of mature audience, right? So this is mature, these types of things are at a certain level of maturity, right? This isn't for teenagers or kids.
No, and as an Austinite, I can tell you that when Austin City Limits reemerged after the pandemic this year, it came back for the first time. It basically takes over Zilker Park. It's a wonderful thing.
Yep.
Great music.
So I just wanted to call attention to that. So I don't know, do we want to go around some more of those orange boxes
Yeah.
and see if we can just brainstorm some more
Definitely. What's the most interesting thing we can say about these buyers? There's a lot of things that we can say, I think.
It's what we could say about the buyers, the brand, or the industry, right? So
Right.
So I put one yesterday, which was, paradox of choice, right?
Right. I'd say none of the streaming services is well defined as a brand. So that opens all kinds of doors for us, for Hulu. No one is talking about this is who we are. It's just like we got lots of stuff. It's almost like it's a department store of TV, movies, and documentaries. Yeah, well, everybody's that. So how do you stand apart? No one's doing it. Here's an opportunity.
Yep. Maybe put there another one that says roster. Everyone has a roster of streaming services. We saw the vast majority of people have more than one streaming service that they subscribe to. So that's what I'm referring to as the roster.
Yeah. Okay. Let's be a little. It has. Yeah, they have. Although looking back at some of the research you did in the last episode, it's pretty clear that they're not yet spending as much as cable. Even the ones who are spending upwards of $50 a month are still shy of the 70 to 80 bucks, which is pretty typical of a cable subscription. So they're not spending as much. That's an interesting observation, I'd say. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at
Okay. Let's back off here and we got a general idea for a headline, some body copy.
So where's go to you have Hulu's TV for TV people, body copy. There I would, looking at a brief, it would be like all the things that might pay off the promise. So here I would put, vast library of content, different genres.
Well, the skeptic in me says, yeah, and so does everybody else. So it's true that this is what Hulu has, but it doesn't
Correct.
support.
But at this point, we don't have to be choiceful yet. At this point, we're throwing stuff on the wall, and then later we're going to discuss whether if it pays off on the. So to me, more important than whether that claim is true is whether the promise is true, and then does the claim support the promise. So if Hulu is TV for TV people and nobody else is saying that, even though they could say it, but nobody else is saying it, then that's our promise. And the fact that we have a vast library of content is very relevant. It's very relevant to that.
And so, do we know if Hulu has more live TV than, it has live TV.
When we got to be careful when we say live TV, we're talking about like the stuff that's airing, or
maybe it's within a day or two of its airing.
As opposed to, it's not live like live sports. It's like, this is this week's episode of The Bachelor being live TV, right? At the hour and time. I don't believe that the basic Hulu, so the Hulu Plus live TV, that $75 package that's a substitute for cable, that has live TV. Here it's more about streaming video on demand, right? So I put another.
Maybe you can get access to live TV within a couple of days, but we'd have to go and.
Maybe here I would put another post-it that says varying genres.
That's redundant.
we could put another, we could put, and if we really wanted to censor ourselves, and we don't have to do it here, but we just saw in their brand guidelines that they don't talk about content, and we have content there in one of our boxes. Now that means, doesn't mean it can't be on the yellow post-it note, but I wouldn't put it in the orange post-it note when we're I think we would be careful not to use the word content, because they specifically call it out. It's like, that's what kind of like, all our competitors talk about content. We're TV for TV people, so don't say content.
Yeah, but that's the other thing we need to talk about, that maybe some people forget, that when you write something for a brief, it's not for public consumption. This is for the creative team. This is what the creatives look at and need to do their work.
Correct.
So,
but
but
I like the brand's stand on the word content, because one, it's a marketing word.
Yep.
And it's not what people would say. And B, if I put the word in the brief, I'm already seeding something in the creatives that we know that as a brand we don't want to seed. So that's why I would leave it off. I would put another post-it note there that says Lollapalooza, Austin City Limits,
I don't know how to spell that.
LOLLA Lala Pa PA Lou LOO
Lollapalooza.
Yeah, Austin City Limits. I think it's right. Austin City Limits, and there was another festival. I don't remember which one it was.
Well, there was another one with a funny name that I don't remember.
Etc.
Yeah, etc.
Put there. So
etc.
That might be a supporting point to whatever headline we eventually come up with. It was.
What is it here?
You got to make it bigger. My 52-year-old eyesing. It's the one in the middle.
Well, Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza. There's the Z, not an S. So anyway, I was close.
Yeah.
I got it right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Bonnaroo. All right. So there's some
how about handcuffs here? What are we required to do or not, or to include, or maybe not do?
So I'm going to make an executive decision and say one of the things that I was lead with, what is it, $7.99?
I think it was, you mean the price?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I think it was $6.99.
Lead with $7 option.
Yeah. Okay.
I would add a second bullet, offer bundle with Disney Plus and ESPN.
Okay, there's my little commentary off the side.
Create consumer-facing tagline.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to have our brand tone, our brand voice. That has to be part of it.
Yeah, but we have, it has its own section, so we wouldn't want to say here you must have comply with the brand tone. Like we have its own section for that.
Okay.
I think that for now, that's pretty good.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. We can say bonus round for another time. We've got something for at least everyone except for our bonus round.
Yep.
Okay, we've got to start.
I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So I could see now how we would start like filling in these orange boxes based on the information we've acquired, what we think, it's not just transmitting information, it's taking that information, analyzing it, thinking about the marketing problem. That's why, really the strategist has to be somebody that lives in both worlds. I have to live in this client's business world, understand what the economics are for the consumer, for the company, but I have to know the creatives and where the likely solution's going to be creatively for this brand and advertising. So that's what I've been trying to give a little peek into under the tent, into the thinking.
Pull back the curtain. Let's do one more thing and we'll wrap up the episode here. Let's just kind of review the little post-it notes we have around each box and see if we want to add something. Just go through the whole thing, okay?
Okay.
So start at the beginning here. We've got context. What is the background for this assignment? What we've got so far is Hulu was an early streaming entrant.
Mm-hmm.
There's a societal switch, a society-wide switch from cable and satellite to streaming. That's just exploded in the last few years.
Yep.
Competitors offer variety content and frequently exclusive. There's a crowded marketplace with lots of competitors. Amazon subscribers, which is one of our competitors, tend not to do it for the streaming, often don't even know that it's there. And even if they do know it's there, that's not why they are a subscriber to Amazon. It's a tack-on bonus that they don't necessarily take advantage of.
Put another post-it there that says Netflix's biggest competitor.
Yep.
And another one that says Hulu sister services are Disney Plus and ESPN Plus.
ESPN Plus?
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Let's look at the next one. Objective.
Twitchy mouse.
And my twitchy mouse. What can advertising help us to do? We can get into the consideration set for buyers. Get into their streaming roster, get into their small selection of options. We can create mental availability. We can define the brand, what we're good for and why we exist. I think that's really important. Anything we want to add?
No, I think
that's actually quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, my philosophy is, I think you agree with me, Henry, is that we want to have one objective.
Yeah, but I think that, to me, the objective is to create a brand that has mental availability, so that we can get into the consideration set of the consumer. So we really need to the overarching thing is we need a strong brand campaign that differentiates us from the competition and gets us into that. We must have this as part of our roster of services that this household subscribes to.
Yeah, I think one of the weaknesses of briefs that I've seen, and people who think about writing briefs, is this kind of default to, we need to build awareness.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of, everything is about building awareness. We need to be more focused. And I like to choose my verbs very carefully when I'm writing an objective. I think that verb communicates something
when we workshop this, we can, I think desire is a great word. Like, this is the one that I desire or prefer or, love or,
Right. Especially because it's around the whole idea of, I'm a TV person. I want TV.
Yeah.
Okay. So buyers, who are the people we need to do this with? Okay, I got rid of cable because it was too expensive with too many channels I didn't watch. I subscribe to multiple streaming services. I'm more likely to rent, more likely to be a Hispanic or African American than the general population. I'm 38 years old. Some people do own their own home. Our people are TV people, and they tend to be a mature audience.
Yep.
Do we want to add anything to this? We feel pretty good about this?
I would. So in the one that says more likely to rent, I would put at the beginning of it, and it's going to be a long post-it. It's going to say, put something like broadly reflective of the adult population, but more likely to rent, more likely
Broadly,
reflective,
I like reflective better.
representative of the adult population,
More
but
likely
more
to rent.
likely to be African American, more likely to rent, be African American or Hispanic, and then you could just get rid of that, then the general population at the bottom, because we already have it at the top. So get rid of the last 3 words.
Yep. Okay. We good there?
I would put after population, put a comma, but more likely to rent, comma, more likely to be Hispanic, comma, African American. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
We'll worry about grammar. So the next one is inspiration. What's the most interesting thing about these buyers, our brand, or the industry it competes in? None of the streaming services is well defined as a brand. Everyone has more than one streaming service to which they subscribe. Not quite spending what cable subscribers are spending, so they're not busting the bank. And I love your paradox of choice. That's a great observation. Great insight.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Let's look at, we have a headline, at least an idea for a headline. What can we say to our viewers of this advertising to create mental availability for our brand or product, especially in shopping situations? This is directly from their brand guidelines. Hulu is TV for TV people.
So I have a version that I'm not going to share right now. We'll leave that as a surprise that I've been that I've been noodling on.
All right, I haven't yet, but maybe I will to contribute. But yeah, I think this is ripe for opportunity. I think we're gonna have fun with this.
Yeah.
Body copy. What makes it true, relevant, or memorable? Even though we don't want to talk about content, they do have a vast library. Music. They've bought the rights to, or have acquired the rights to Lollapalooza, Austin City Limits, and a couple of others, and of course a wide variety of genres within their library. Anything we want to add to that?
Nope.
Tone. How should the brand speak so people recognize that it's us? Well, we do have brand guidelines. It's an awesome document, so we can lift directly from that. We want to stay away from jargon. We stay conversational because we're real people. No content. We're not trying to keep up with every meme. I think this is almost written for us already.
Yep.
Okay. Whoops. Sorry about that. Codes. Which distinctive assets can reinforce the brand in their memories? We have a great logo. We have a color. We know the color. We have a description of what the vessel is. We even know what the audio signatures got to be, and other great details in our brand and guidelines.
The big one that's missing there is a tagline, that they don't have one. So that's the big opportunity that we put in our musts to the creatives, is that they must develop a tagline.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's see, we've got 2 more. Handcuffs. What are we required to do or include? Well, we've got to lead with our basic option, which is about $7. We can mention the fact that there's a bundle opportunity with Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. And then of course, we reinforced our need here. We need to create a consumer-facing tagline.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about it, but we could talk about the merits of having a tagline, what a tagline does. But I think most advertising people would agree that this is a missed opportunity, really, to define your brand in the 2 or 3 words that people are going to remember and associate with you, like the great taglines that we are all familiar with, in advertising history. To me, the fact that there isn't a tagline, like most brands fail by having a non-memorable tagline, forgettable tagline, or tagline doesn't mean anything. But I haven't seen a lot of brands fail by not having a tagline at all.
Well, I think the other brand failure is not sticking with a good tagline, because they haven't got the patience.
Abandoning one that works or that makes sense or that has worked in the past. Yeah.
Throwing equity down the drain.
We've had that conversation a gazillion times. And then bonus round, we'll figure out if there's anything else that we want to add.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
bonus round is just that. It's a bonus. If there's nothing else we want to add, we don't have to add anything there. Make
Exactly.
the brief briefer.
I like your template. I think it creates lots of opportunities. And as I've said many times before, and I think you agree, there's no such thing as a bad template. There's only bad information on the template. And we are working our way up to creating content that's going to be memorable and inspirational for the creative team. So we've got a good start, Henry. And I think in our next episode, we're going to dive a little deeper. Don't you think?
Yep. I think we're going to be writing a brief.
Okay. Good stuff, Henry.
Good stuff, Howard.
He's Henry Gomez.
And he's Howard Eibach. And together we're the Brief Brothers. Till next time. Bye-bye.